The Mayor's given the go-ahead for 3 new river crossings in East London and is considering more. But Green campaigners argue, aside from the cost, it'll just create more pollution.
Final tests are underway ahead of the opening of London's newest river crossing.
Engineers say it's the widest in the country.
From next Monday, tolls will be introduced to use both Silvertown and the existing Blackwall Tunnel.
And about 25 to 30,000 car journeys a day are expected to go through it when it opens.
The number of buses crossing the river in the area will increase from 6 to 21 per hour.
Every road that you add a lane to will fill up, and you'll still be in the same position then as you are now.
It's completely empty at the moment, but this is London's biggest road infrastructure project for years, providing more capacity and an alternative to the Blackwall Tunnel. But before the tunnel officially opens, I'm looking into what's ahead for public transport in this tunnel and trying to gain an understanding of the issues that have been raised surrounding this project. And my journey researching this topic begins on a Thursday afternoon in West Ham. So just off from Star Lane Station is the West Ham bus garage operated by Stagecoach London. And just a few weeks ago, the Enviro 200 EV buses were taken off the 323 route to be rebranded both in the exterior and the exterior to be put on the SCS route, which will be running between Royal Docks and North Greenwich. This is the Cross River Cycle Shuttles route mapped out, with 2 brand new stops installed near to TfL cycle routes at Seagull Lane and Millennium Way, served every 12 minutes between 6:30 and 9:30 every day except December 25th. These cycle buses will permit pedal bikes, cargo bikes, e-bikes, hire bikes and adaptive cycles to board using the rear double doors, where a ramp can be deployed on request. There are 2 more bus routes that will be using the tunnel from the 7th of April, which we'll get onto later. After hearing online that driver training was taking place on this route, I knew that all 4 of the buses would be parked inside the garage, so it came as a pleasant surprise to us when we were kindly handed high-vis jackets and let inside for a very exclusive sneak peek, allowing us to get up close to the vehicles. Only later on did I realise that this SCS service was actually the alternative offered by TfL for the lack of a cycle lane through the tunnel. Stagecoach London was awarded a contract of approximately £1.97 million to operate this service. And to tell me more about the history of this route leading up to the opening is London Cycling Campaign member Neil Robertson, who agreed to meet up with me on the Board Street footbridge in Greenwich, overlooking the brand new tunnel, which he expressed to be a disaster of planning.
They told us that they were going to provide a transport method to get cyclists through the tunnel. You don't really want to stop, wait for a bus, clamber onto a bus, sit in traffic going through a tunnel to get off the other end. They had meetings for the local community through the Riverlinks group together with TfL, but unfortunately answers weren't free-flowing. So we did ask to be involved when they were designing the bus, or they were talking about a minibus with a trailer for bikes. We were sort of left aside. They didn't include us in any of the design talks or trials.
To visualise what the user experience will be like, we'll be heading down on the DLR from Star Lane to Royal Victoria, where signs direct us towards Seagull Lane. I'm hoping that these will be updated on opening day to show the connection to the SCS bus stop, which is just outside the station, instantly recognisable by the bus stop flag, which highlights that this is a cyclist-only service. And so I can see now that these stops have actually been custom built for this service with little ridges to put your bikes in, very nice bus stop signs, and of course a very unique shelter that sets it apart from all other London bus services. Neil also told me that the access to the bus itself may be difficult for certain cyclists.
The access to the bus by one of the disability groups has been described as unsuitable for most people with a disability.
An interior bus layout plan was recently released and a Freedom of Information request. There will be space for 4 standard bikes, 4 folding bikes, 5 folding e-bikes, 1 non-standard or adapted bicycle and there will also be 18 seats. All bikes will be held safely in place using straps linked to an indicator in the driver's cab.
The space within the bus is difficult and very confined. There's also steps to get up to seats at the back. Well, if you've got a disability, climbing steps on the bus is probably not ideal. So we'll find out whether that bus is really going to be of much use to many people.
Quickly losing sunlight, we finally made it to the North Tunnel portal, which is only a few minutes' walk away from the bus stop. Despite the presence of barriers preventing cars from moving onto the dual carriageways and slip roads, it's still incredible to be here for the first time. Just over a year ago, this site was almost completely unrecognisable. So behind me is the roundabout next to the Silvertown Tunnel North Portal entrance, which leads down there onto the other side of the river at North Greenwich. But unfortunately, this land here is restricted, so until the tunnel opens, we won't be able to walk onto that roundabout. Once it's open, you'll be able to roam and look at the cars as they head downwards under the River Thames. Of course, in the final month before the tunnel opens, London buses have been given access to the tunnel to carry out driver training. The circular green portal building will become the northern central hub of action from opening day, managing tolls and traffic, ventilation and safety, maintenance and emergency access, and hosting the control room.
The cycle bus has been guaranteed for 12 months, and it's going to be free for that 12 months.
But unfortunately, the Silvertown Tunnel wasn't intended for cyclist use, and the longevity of this service is being questioned.
If it really is unsuitable for people and doesn't suit people's needs, then it won't get used and it will be cancelled, presumably, and then we'll have nothing.
We came back to the area the following week in search of some aerial views. Our best bet of catching a glimpse of the North Portal from the sky is taking TfL's unusual mode of transport, the cable car. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's go and buy our tickets. Unlike the new Express SL4 route, the new SES route, the extended 129 route, the 108 route, and multiple sections of the Docklands Light Railway, the cable car, which runs on a path parallel to the Silvertown Tunnel, won't be free to use for the first year of its operations. Nevertheless, as we rise up to 300 feet in the air, it does provide a fantastic aerial view. So of course this project was massively overpriced, and this is the point on the IFS Cloud cable car that I have a chance to look down onto the construction site that is now complete. But what was the history of this construction, which was led by a joint venture called Riverlinks? The tunnel boring machine was named after London's first female bus driver, Jill Viner, and is the largest to ever be used in the UK at 11.91 metres. It was launched through the Northern Tunnel shaft on August 31st, 2022, and was the first TBM in UK history to be turned back on itself to complete a second tunnel drive. During the construction of the new tunnel, more than 1,860,000 tonnes of material were transported to and from the site via the river rather than using roads. In 2013, the initial price tag was £600 million. This increased to £2.2 billion by 2021. And it's because of all of these extra costs that when the tunnel eventually opens on the 7th of April, unless you apply for an exemption, which not many people have done, you will have to pay a toll not only for the Silvertown Tunnel, but also the Blackwall Tunnel. And those tolls are listed on screen right now. These tolls will help to cover all of the extra costs and of course pay for the maintenance that will still have to go on, which is very strange considering it's a public road. So we're now approaching the South River bank in our tiny cable car pod. Upon leaving the Greenwich Peninsula, we head to the closest bench site, right in the shadow of the O2 Arena, to take a look at some interesting documents. So during my online research of the Silvertown Tunnel, I came across this report written by Sean Berry, who is an MP from the Green Party. And it says here some things that could potentially be better ways to use the Silvertown Tunnel.
One of the proposals was to have a clean bore and a dirty bore. So the dirty bore was for all the motor traffic, and then there was a clean bore which could take electric trams, electric buses, cycles and pedestrians.
But as we walk up to the south portal and catch a glimpse over a wall onto the tunnel entrance, it's become clear that this won't be happening. The fate of the Silvertown Tunnel has been sealed, and all we can expect now is road traffic. The Silvertown Tunnel's approach road runs right alongside that of the Blackwall Tunnel, and you can certainly see the age difference between the two portals. The former a fantastic modern piece of architecture by DRMM, with curvature worked into the design, and the latter a Grade 2 listed building designed by architect Thomas Blashill. You might think that the additional northbound tunnel will help to spread out congestion, but as Neil explains, the extra capacity and permission for HGV use in the new Silvertown Tunnel will only make things worse and increase air pollution.
Having attended consultation meetings, I remember being told by the TfL representative there that there will only be the same amount of traffic coming through two tunnels than there was at that time, a few years ago. So now we've got 4 lanes of traffic filtering down to 2. There's going to be centres for HGVs either side. So this is going to attract lots of HGV traffic, which until now has never been going through the tunnels.
Now all that's left to do is head back home and wait in anticipation for April 7th, from which point we'll start to observe whether or not the Silvertown Tunnel will be a success.
13 years after it was first announced, the Silvertown Tunnel opened this morning.
At an opening like this, even the drivers are enthusiastic, and I've been let aboard one of the many BD11 buses that make up the fleet of London's newest express bus route, while it's out to service in the bus stand. We've arrived in Canary Wharf. It's very early, very chilly, and we're going to go for a full ride all the way down to Grove Park through the brand new Silvertown Tunnel. But this bus looks quite alright. I'm really excited. All the branding's up, and there's a lot of people here. The SL4 is a brand new Superloop route that intersects the Orbital Express bus network. With approximately 28 stops and connections to many stations, this is one of the 3 bus routes that is running through the Silvertown Tunnel from today. I'm at the top deck of the BD11. We're just approaching East India Station. I'm surprised at how many stops there are. The one thing that is really confusing me is that entire express section when it goes through the Silvertown Tunnel. It's quite a long length and there aren't any stops in between, so it won't be possible today for us to go and check out the SCS route. I have been informed though that Neil is going to be checking out that route at about 9 AM, so we'll see what the feedback is on the cycle shuttle. In the meantime, we're on the SL4 and we're about to enter through the North Portal. Coming up to the traffic light on the dual carriageway, we wait in anticipation for our very first trip through the new tunnel, which is already proving popular amongst drivers even in these early morning hours. First impressions, it's absolutely enormous and there's so much space for the buses in their lane. But surprisingly, the journey finishes quickly. It was very nice seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but in general, the entire journey was very atmospheric. And now we are just speeding along and people are telling the driver to push on the accelerator. We're going very, very fast. The tunnel left far behind in the dust of our BD11 bus, we continue south, with the biggest highlight being the section through Blackheath, where you get to admire the massive expanse of grass while gazing into sunlight. But this is a video about the Silvertown Tunnel, so what do people think of the new route?
What do you think of the SL4?
Enjoy the journey.
It's nice.
The SL4 may not be attracting many commuters yet, but we'll see whether the ridership increases in passenger stats that will be released later this year. You do have to tap in on these buses, but a charge won't be issued. However, if you're travelling on the free sections of the DLR network, you'll have to wait a few days for an automatic refund. And now we've made it to Grove Park. The frequency of this bus is impressive, with arrivals roughly every 8 minutes during the day Monday to Friday, and every 15 minutes during evenings and on weekends. That means that during regular hours, there will usually be 2 buses on the stand at both termini. After a quick break, we're back on the bus, and after singing a bit of Silvertown blues,
Going down in Silvertown.
we descend into the northbound Silvertown Tunnel. Our bus arrives at West India Avenue to the sight of an overwhelming number of bus enthusiasts, but also camera operators and transport officials. The press event has begun, taking place on a ram-packed EBD 63. Then the mayor arrives, and after I pose for some photographs taken by the media team, the press bus announces its status as a special service and departs, heading off down to Grove Park. So the Silvertown Tunnel and its bus routes have begun operation. But is there still light at the end of the tunnel? Will there be a repurposing in the future? I don't know, but this seems to be the conclusion of the Silvertown project and the transport connections it facilitates. Whether you're an opponent or a supporter, this certainly has been a significant moment in London's history. This video production was created with the ongoing support of my channel members. To get early access to videos, a badge next to your username in the comment section, and a place on this list, please do consider joining one of the tiers. Everyone's help is much appreciated. And feel free to leave your thoughts and views on this tunnel in the comment section. Thanks for watching.